Happy Sunday. It is LaChelle, also known as America's SuperMom. I am coming to you from Georgia, and I want to talk briefly on no excuses. So I'm excited because I have a premiere of my second season of Real Life Without Excuses that will be happening on Tuesday. I have two premiere Zoom calls on Tuesday, one at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and one at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And they're just an hour, but you get a chance to see some of my guests, and we are going to be talking about what our vision is. What it is that we have even decided to collaborate for. What is our mission in the world? And I wanted to discuss this because so often, so many people are not living up to their potential. They are just cowering down in the space of fear because of the excuses that we tell ourselves. So, this really is prompted because, my own situation. I think about my own life. I think about the cycles that my kids take, the cycles that I take. There is a story in the Bible where the people were in the wilderness for 40 years, but the trip really should not even taken years. It shouldn't even taken months. It should have just taken days. But they were caught up in this doing the same thing over and over again because they did not listen or see the things that were happening before them and make the right choices. So I look at this in my own life and I think, man, part of being able to make a change is to be accountable and understanding and having awareness that even if things happen in your environment, you may not be the lead generator, but if you're in that environment, you have to take accountability for your part. That's just how it is. God took on the accountability of the whole world with his son and sacrificing him so that we could be saved. And I think this is an appropriate message because one of the things that he says to us in the scripture is take up your cross daily. Be willing to die every day. Now, a lot of us think, oh my gosh, that just seems so morbid, dying every day, that just doesn't even seem right. But the cycle of life is that you're born, you go through your maturity phase, and you're going to die. So that's not anything that is foreign. We all understand death, and it doesn't have an age associated with it. You see children die, you see middle aged people die, you see animals die, right? See plants die, trees die. Okay, we have a lot of things that have a life cycle. That's part of having a life cycle. But why would he charge us to take up our cross daily and to die to some of these things? Well, a lot of it is dying to our fleshly desires. Okay, because if you look at the scripture, there is certain behavior that is not in alignment with godly behavior. So I'll use myself as an example. I have 15 children. Two of those children are my stepchildren. The oldest of my biological children I had before I was married, which not a rocket scientist. What I had an appetite for, which was sexual activity, I had an appetite for that, which is normal, but it was outside of God's will. So I was in that engaged in that activity without being married. Now, I was blessed and fortunate because my husband and I valued our relationship. We love one another. And so we got married, and the rest is history. I just recently celebrated my 30th wedding anniversary. However, the issue is that the appetite for what I wanted, I didn't fulfill it in a way that was pleasing to God. So there's consequences. You have a child that's born out of wedlock. I have two of my stepchildren that were born out of wedlock, but then they're still a part of our family. So the point is, we have to hold ourselves accountable for the choices we make. Now, it could be easy to just brush these things under the rug. Why do we even have to talk about it? But this is getting back to excuses. So when we understand that things happen based on our choices that we make, we have to take accountability for it, right? I can't go around and say, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. This is crazy. How did this happen? Woe is me, when I made a choice to do it, right? So when we think about the excuses, we have to think about, what is it that we can hold ourselves accountable for? We have to admit these issues. We have to admit what we're doing wrong so that we can change it, right? So the thing with excuses is, let's take our businesses, for example. We have everybody who is so excited about a new year, new goals, new aspirations, new relationships, new clients, new growth. But the truth is, how did we end up last year? Now, it's not that we're dwelling in the past, but we need to examine our own behavior and personality and our work ethic and our disciplines and habits so that we can start off being successful for the new year that is here. So if I know that I don't get up on time, I don't eat right, I don't exercise, I'm on my phone all day, there are certain goals that are not going to be supported and going to be successful if I keep that same behavior. This is why we have to get a coach or connect with a mentor, get in a tribe of different people, because they have an idea of knowing what they're working towards, because they've experienced it usually, and they have a way of keeping their vision right in front of them. Okay. So there's a scripture that says, keep your precepts on your forehead, right? Your forehead or something. I can't, frontlets. That's frontlets on your head or something. But the point is, it's right here. You can't go anywhere without taking your forehead with you. Okay. Except maybe if you're asleep and, you're not even conscious. But the point is, we should be conscious of our goals. They should be like right here all the time. And usually that's not the case. So if I say, I just have this vision, I'm around people that do public speaking, and I'm just so enamored and I'm inspired, and I'm like, man, I want to do that, right? I can't keep looking at people and just mesmerizing over their messages. If I want to be a public speaker, I have to start speaking. So it may not be speaking on a stage first thing. So, for example, if I don't know how to play the piano, am I going to get into a room of 1,000 people and get on a piano and start playing? That would be crazy. But this is the kind of expectations that we have for ourselves when we're not even prepared. So if that's crazy to you, to say, I don't know how to play the piano, but I've seen all these great musicians do it and I love it and I'm inspired and I want to do it, let's get started. And I just go in front of a room with 1,000 people and want to play, that's crazy, right? Because it takes preparation, it takes work, it takes knowing where to put your fingers on the piano. It takes knowing what the notes are, knowing how to read music. How do you put your feet? How do you breathe? How do you have an ear for other instruments? I mean, do you see what I'm saying? So the point is, it takes a lot behind the scenes to go into what people see on the outside, right? So same thing with athletes. They don't just get on the court and decide, "Oh, I want to do a three free throw or I want to do a three-pointer or whatever." It takes work. So they have to practice to even know the form, What's their positioning? How should they breathe? How much angle should they have towards the goal? All these things, it's a science, right? It takes work. So a lot of us look at what people have completed and we think that we can easily manifest it, and it just doesn't work like that. Manifestation comes from consistent action. And the way you get consistent action is you take shortcuts, right? You could take shortcuts that can get you where you want to go. Now, I can say, hey, I want to go to California. I can choose to get in my car and take 4 days and drive there, or I can get in a plane and just get there in less time. Or I could take a train and it may take a day and a half, right? I can go by boat. It could take a couple weeks. Okay. So the point is, if I know where my destination is and I'm clear on that, then I can decide the quickest way that I want to get there. So if I want to be a public speaker, I can get a coach. I can join organizations. I can join Facebook groups or different or clubs that can encourage me to speak. They can give me speaking prompts. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? So the point is, when we learn to eliminate the excuses, having a goal and a vision is great. Okay, being somewhere different than where you are is commendable. However, it takes a journey to get there. It takes some skill set. It takes some learning. It takes uh, putting your mind in a different place, right? And you can't do that alone. If you could, you wouldn't need a coach. You would already have it done. If it was that easy, we could wake up every morning. I want to go to Hawaii. I am going to do it Friday. Okay? It just doesn't work like that. It takes preparation. You have to understand that a lot of your goals go beyond just you. So let's take Hawaii, for example. I could say, Friday, I want to go to Hawaii. So the most logical way to get there is flying. So am I going to just say, I want to go to Hawaii? I'm going to go to the airport. I'm going to check out my own plane and I'm going to fly there on my own. And I'm going to get there and I'm going to have a good time. That's crazy, right? A lot of the goals that we have, they're not just aligned with us doing them alone. If I want to fly to Hawaii, I have to go through an airline or I could have a private jet, but I have a pilot because I don't know how to fly. I need fuel, so I have to figure out who's going to provide the fuel. All these different things go into your goals, which is why you need to plan and have preparation. Just because I want to go on Friday doesn't mean there's a pilot available on Friday for me to go. This is why you prepare and do things ahead of time so everybody can align. Now, you see the alignment that has to take place, which is simply a flight, or maybe it's a bus ride, or a train ride, or a Uber car, right? It takes alignment. So, when we think about are we in alignment with the goals that we have, and the biggest disruption of the alignment is us. Do I have the money to go to Hawaii? Do I have the time off of work? Do I have money to uh, locate a place to stay when I get there? All these things go into this decision making. So understanding, what does that look like? A lot of times these goals deal with other things that are outside of our control. So when you understand that, it's up to you to really fix the things that you can control, because life is going to have craziness all the time. I can decide I want to go to Hawaii, but then there's a tornado or some kind of storm where I can't fly, you know. So there's things that can happen, but when you have a plan, you still can keep your momentum going. You can say, hey, Friday's not going to work. We got a storm. We're going to lay low till the storm passes. Or I could totally make it another month and change my ticket. So these are the things that we want to think about. So I want to get back to the fact of excuses. So we can be victims. We can have things that happen that are outside of our control. But when we want to live with a life beyond excuses, We want to take accountability for our part, whatever that is, and we want to look at what lesson that we learn. How can we resolve this? And then what change are we going to make? Now, I can only change me. I cannot change other people. But how do I fix that? How do I fix that I change, but I can't make other people change, but I can still change my environment? It's called setting boundaries. So boundaries are not for other people. Boundaries are for you because you have a certain limit that you will allow people to be in that space, but they are not going to cross the boundary. So if your boundary is, you know what, I am not going to tolerate people yelling at me. Okay. If you raise your voice, I'm out the room. I'm out the house. I'm out the door, whatever. Right. So understanding what that looks like, because you can't control what people do, but you can control how you respond. And how you respond is based on the boundaries that you have set up for yourself because you have changed. See, maybe you might have tolerated your kids yelling at you. They get frustrated. You're like, oh, they probably, I used to do that when I was a kid. Doesn't make it right. Right. But if you decide, you know what, if I allow them to yell next week, I'm yelling at them, and it's just the cycle. They don't want to do their chores, and then they feel like they go from yelling to not asking. I mean, it's a cycle. So we can stop this by setting a boundary, because the boundaries help you to stay in self control so that you're not losing it. I mean, there's a lot of parents that get frustrated with your kids. I mean, I'm one of them. It's like, how many times am I telling you to get those chores done? Or how many times do you think you can leave the house without your work being done? Right? All these different things can happen, but it's up to you to take accountability. If you want to change, set a boundary. And it's just that simple. So you don't have to get upset. You don't have to be judgmental. You just decide, you know what, this is my limit, and I am going to enforce some boundaries because I want to stay in a peaceful state. I don't want to be all over the place, angry, mad. So I'm going to set a boundary. I'm going to tell you what the boundary is. Now, what they choose to do with that boundary is up to them, but they can't be upset with the outcomes that happen as a result of them not honoring your boundary. So, for example, I have do not disturb on my phone after a certain time. My phone just goes to do not disturb. So, people can call after that time. Some people may know, some people don't, but they're not going to get a hold of me because my phone's on do not disturb. That's a boundary. So I can tell them, hey, I saw you called last night. I wasn't available. Or I could tell them, hey, I put my phone on do not disturb. If you want to get a hold of me, you need to call me early or whatever. Right? Whether I tell them or not, I still am staying in my peaceful state because I'm in the bed and my phone's on do not disturb. Furthermore, my phone's not even in my room, right? I put my phone in my office, it's on the charger. My alarm is set so it wakes me up, but I have to get up out of bed, come across the room, right, in a different room in order for me to turn off that alarm and get started for the day. Why? Because I'm not pushing the snooze button. If the phone is right next to me, it's like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to set a timer for a few minutes. Been there, done that. So now my boundary is that my phone is not even in my room. That's the boundary for myself because I would push the snooze button. So, what I'm getting at here is one, I just want to invite you to begin to understand. Take some time to reflect and think about what are some things that you're doing repeatedly that you just don't want to continue in 2023. We have to get past these excuses. Things happen to everybody. Everybody has been victimized by something. We've been victimized by a pandemic. Whether we asked for it, believed it or not, it has affected everybody. Look at the gas, look at the food, look at the supply chain issues. Okay, look at mask on your face or no mask, or vaccination or non vaccination, or just the whole thought process of how we have been um, how we've had to deal with this pandemic. I mean, I can't even put it into words because it's crazy, right? Our kids have suffered because, they are not interacting in a way that's normal for them. A lot of them might have missed out on proms or graduations, very significant rites of passage that they couldn't be a part of for those that were during the pandemic. So, I mean, the effects of it go on and on and on. I mean, it just keeps on going, keeps on going. So the point is, there's always going to be something that you're going to be victimized from. The power that you have is how you choose to respond to that. It's up to you. Nobody is telling you how to respond. And if you think that they are, I question you to really sit down and think about, is that true? Because we tell ourselves lies all the time. That's one of my things. It's like, you know what? I used to do these Facebook Live videos. And so I would start with a scripture, a verse. And one day, the Lord just spoke to me and said, this is really for you. And I just kind of stopped for a minute, and he was like, because if you don't need any instruction, that means you're perfect. And I know I'm not perfect. I know that I can't do it without God being on my side. I know I can't do it with Him orchestrating a lot of the things that He does behind the scenes, because He created me for His purpose, to fulfill His mission for my life. And so, with that being said, understanding that, we need to remove judgment, right? We need to remove, if it was me, I would do it like this. If I was the mom, I would do this. If I was his wife, I would do this. If I was president, I would do this. All this mess, right? Nobody knows what it's like to be in somebody else's shoes. And a lot of times we're not going to get into those spaces if we don't start with ourselves first. We have to start with getting our own self in order before we even begin to talk about somebody else or give them insight. And if we begin to stay within our zone of genius and stay out of other people's business, we will be a lot further along. I know that, for example, if I sang, which I love to do this example because I am not a singer, right? There's this saying that my mom taught me: I couldn't carry a note if it had a handle on it. Okay. So the point is, or carry a tune. The point is, when we get into our zone of genius, imagine if, we have a lot of these athletes and they were just able to be an athlete all the time, right? If that was just it, waking up every day, being an athlete, getting in the game, coming out of the game, that would be so much easier to be in flow, right? This is why a lot of people are overachievers, or they are workaholics, because they get some adrenaline from seeing themselves shine in something that they're good at. But the reality is, every day is not a game. Okay. The game doesn't last all day. If you've got a family, they need a father or a mother. If you have a business, the clients need you to be engaged or whatever. You know, it just is not where you can have that autonomy, because we are a melting pot. We are designed, it says in the scripture that the body has many members. Okay. So the eye can be an eye, but it still needs hands, fingers, ears, all these other things to collectively form a body. So when we think about that in our own life, all of it is not work, or all of it is not play, right? It is a harmony of all these things working together for you to show up and be the best version of yourself. So when you think about that, how can you navigate those responsibilities? What are the boundaries that you can set? For example, Everybody really can get into social media. Let's just take TikTok, for example. You could be on TikTok for hours and it's just 1 minute posts, right? But those minutes add up. So just like you can see how the progression of time with hours goes by with social media, imagine if that was time you were spending on your own business or your own vision. So just ponder that, right? It doesn't even seem like it's work. It seems like it's fun watching other people commenting, sharing, laughing, posting. But all that energy is something that you regret later on. It's temporary. It feels good in the moment. But then when you look back and realize, man, it's the end of the month, I have a quota, I haven't really been working, I haven't really been putting my own content out because I've been looking at everybody else's. Oh, I've been a helper, I've been a supporter, but I haven't put anything out there for people to support me on, right? We have to begin to start examining some of these decisions that we're making and take accountability for them. So, this is a year, I hope for you, of no excuses, to where you're able to look at the lessons that you're learning, make a change for you, and establish some boundaries for other people because it starts with you. It's not by accident, it's not by chance. We have to be intentional with the choices that we make in order for us to help ourselves and help other people and show up in a way that, what is this for? For grandma's package. Okay. All right. So, love it. My kids just come in here. That's the reality of being a mom, right? It's like, hey, I'm trying to be on brand. Next thing you know, they're coming in and you know, but that's just life. So again, I just encourage you all, make this a year of no excuses. And if you need help with this, I'm a mother of 15. I don't do everything perfect. And the reason why I'm able to be successful in the things that I do is because I have a tribe. I don't do it alone. I don't have to clean up the house by myself. I don't have to cook by myself. I don't have to pick up kids by myself because it takes teamwork. So if you need a team or you need a coach or you need a lot of these things that are going to help you move forward in a positive way, reach out to me. I'd be happy to have a conversation so that you can have some clarity over what you want in 2023 because it starts with you. And if you're not conscious enough of this, just take a look around. Look behind you, look above you, look below you, look to the side. There are no superheroes around. There are no special forces going on, being a hero at your disposal. It is up to you to be your own cheerleader, to be your own designer of the life that you desire. So that is what I have for today. As we prepare for 2023, I'll be putting the links in the description for the um, Zoom presentations for the premiere of Real Life Without Excuses. So remember that your greatness is waiting for you. So cut those excuses off in 2023. Again, that is all I have for now. Have a great day. Bye for now.